This camera is the Canon 7D, and we're going to be focused on the quality menu today and talking about file sizes. So if I click on quality, you can see that this camera allows you to shoot in RAW, and there's a few different RAW formats, and JPEG, and you could shoot both RAW and JPEG if you wanted to. So let's start with the regular RAW file. This file is about 18 megabytes in the Canon 7D, and on a 32-bit card that I have in here, it can store 932 photos. That is typically the file that you'd want to shoot. If I was going to give you an easy answer and say if you're familiar with RAW, this is the main file you want to shoot. It's going to give you the best quality. You just have to do a little bit of computer work to it later. However, that can't just be the easy answer. There are other options. In order to change from RAW to MRAW, turn the multifunction dial with your forefinger. And then you can see up at the top we now have a 10 megabyte file, a smaller sized file, and now I can fit more than 1,000 images on this card. This file was first introduced in the Canon 7D, and it's got about 55 to 60% fewer pixels than the regular RAW file, and plus the smaller file size. You can see here we had 5,184 by 3,456. In this file we have a 3,888 by 2,592 sized file. So we can fit more on the card. And then we have the SRAW, which is even smaller, and the file size is even less. We have a 4.5 megabyte file, so we could fit even more pictures on the card. Now the advantage I could see to doing this is that you still have all the advantages of shooting a RAW file, but you have smaller files, so your buffer could keep up with shooting a longer burst. And of course you can store more photos on your card. If you wanted to shoot sports where you had long bursts, in the RAW file I can shoot a burst of 19 photos. If I switch to the MRAW, now I can shoot a burst of 25. In SRAW, I can shoot a burst of 35. And then, if I went instead to JPEG, a large size JPEG, I could shoot 39. So by going to the smaller size RAW file or switching to JPEG, you could improve your burst rate in sports photography, for example. You can also see that you can shoot both RAW and JPEG to your card, and you can change what size JPEG you want by turning the wheel next to your thumb on the back of the camera. And you have an L for a large sized file, and you can see that the little symbol next to the L has got a smooth edge, so that would be a high quality JPEG. No, not much compression. And then you have a large sized file that has bumps next to it, so that would be a more compressed large sized file. Same thing goes for medium and small. So in this camera it would store both files on the same card because the 7D only has one card. But if you had a camera like the 5D Mark III, in that camera you could store each file on a separate card. Here you can see some pictures taken. This one was taken in full RAW. It's a 28.8 megabyte file out of the Canon 7D. This one was in MRAW. It's a 20 megabyte file. SRAW, a 14 megabyte file. JPEG, a large JPEG, 8.6 megabytes. 4.5 megabytes for a medium. All of these were taken at the best fine quality. And small, a 2.6 megabyte file. And I'm sure for most purposes, a 3 megabyte file, like if you wanted to place it on the internet or something, is plenty big enough. If you wanted to make large prints though, you would want to have the larger sized file. So the take-home message is it's probably always better to shoot the best quality file you can, because you can always use your computer to make the file smaller later. Having that 28.8 megabytes of raw data and having the full bit depth also will make a big difference in the quality of your final image. A RAW file will, and depending on which Canon camera you have, will save either 12 or 14 bits of color, whereas the JPEG file is going to knock it down to 8 bits of color depth. So I hope you learned something about the file sizes, and join us again in our next video.